to order. Cassandra, you want to call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Secretary Chaudhry is absent. Mr. Derenberg,
Present.
Vice Chair Eberhardt,
Here.
Chuck Boyd as designee for Secretary Flora,
Present.
Mr. Katari is absent. Ms. Lala is absent. Krishna Taller as designee for Dr. Wright,
Present.
and Chair Casemeyer.
Here. Thank you.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
So we did have one revision, correct? That's all come out.
We did send out a revision. It was just a change to the motion on item 6, and that is posted to our website. So anyone that is following along has the most current information.
Any public comment today?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Alex, you want to give us your report?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to you, Madam Vice Chair, members of the Commission. Great to see you this month. And as our fiscal year 2026 comes to a close, I'd like to just begin my report by thanking you and all of the IAC staff for all the hard work that you did in protecting the school construction funding for Maryland school districts, and ultimately Maryland's kids and teachers from budget cuts. To be very accurate, I should say nominal cuts rather than real cuts, because the school construction funding for fiscal year 2027 was effectively the same as in fiscal 2026, despite some construction cost inflation of at least 3% and likely much more than that. As a result, the amount of work being funded in 2027 will be a little bit less than in 2026, but it's a victory nonetheless, considering the economic straits that Maryland is in. So I thank you for pulling out all the stops to get the best outcome we could. I also thank you, the Commission, for your steadfast focus in getting the best possible outcomes for Maryland students all across the state, given the available resources we have to work with, and in an apolitical, unbiased, and even-handed manner that is as objective as it could be, considering there inevitably must be some judgment calls made. But that's why the IAC was created in the first place, way back in 1971, to make the necessary judgment calls in a manner that is as insulated from politics as is humanly possible, considering that the IAC operates within a structure created by an elected legislature. Over the past weeks, I've heard comments criticizing how state capital funding was allocated for fiscal 2027 and some other recent years in ways that were, quote, political, unquote. And I'm responding directly to those comments by saying that the IAC will continue to be completely apolitical in how it awards state dollars. Any political aspects to the appropriations coming from the General Assembly are above the pay grade of the IAC, so to speak, and out of the IAC's control. Although I want to take every opportunity I get to tell everyone that dollars need to follow the data to address whatever deficiencies exist in school facilities that keep them from being educationally sufficient and fiscally sustainable. And that's what we do. We collect the data, we analyze it, we share it, and we follow it. Coming years will see only more of that data from the IAC so that we can show the need and help school districts address the need as best as is humanly possible. And finally, today, I'd like to thank all the IAC staff and school district staff who have worked hard over the past year to move so many operations into the IAC's online business management system. It's been a heavy lift. Change is always challenging, but it has been a successful one that is already paying dividends in efficiency and transparency. As the IAC gears up to administer 2 new programs in fiscal year 2028, one to fund non-public special education facilities and another to fund charter school facilities, the business management system will be even more utilized and become more essential to the agency's effectiveness. One comment on that second program for charter school facilities. Assuming it receives any appropriation at all, which is not guaranteed, it will be funded from the state's operating budget, and so it will not come from the capital budget that funds the CIP and our school district's facilities funding. I say that so that it's clear that we expect no cost to school districts to come from the relatively small amount of funding that might go to charter schools. And with that, I conclude my report for June, and I stand for any questions you might have.
Thanks, Alex. Any questions for Alex? Alex, on behalf of Linda and the total and all the board, we want to thank you and Cassandra and the staff for this magnificent job that you all do for such a small group of people. You put out a lot of work and high quality, and congratulations. Number 2, the consent agenda. Any comments, Alex?
No, not this month.
Everything's okay?
Yeah.
Do you hear a motion that we approve the consent agenda? Krishna makes a motion, Mr. Derenberg seconds. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hands. Any opposed? Thank you. Item 3, FY 2027 Capital Improvement Program Amendments, St. Mary's County Public Schools. Melissa? You're on mute, Melissa. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and members of the Commission. On May 14th, IAC staff received a request from St. Mary's County Public Schools to amend the FY 27 CIP due to unforeseen circumstances that have arisen since their submission was received. St. Mary's included a chiller replacement project for Leonardtown High School as their third priority in their FY 27 submission. But due to funding constraints, the project did not receive state funding. Since that time, a chiller has failed, putting a strain on the system, resulting in ongoing repair costs. St. Mary's believes they need to replace that chiller urgently to avoid further repairs and possibly the only operating chiller also failing. The project has already been through design process and was ready to release for bidding once the funding is secured. In order to make funding available, St. Mary's is requesting to rescind $3,658,447 in funding from what was awarded to their Priority 2 project at Esperanza Middle School Multisystemic, and award $1,295,689 of that to the Leonardtown High to partially fund the chiller project. If approved, the balance of the rescinded funding will be talked about in the next motion. This will leave Esperanza Middle School with a balance of $1,988,653 in state funding that will be used to enter into the design contract for the project so the project could continue to proceed. The remaining state funding needed for both Esperanza and Leonardtown will be requested in the FY 27 CIP. I will now read the motion. To rescind $3,658,447 of funding from the FY 2027 Capital Improvement Program award for the St. Mary's County Public Schools Esperanza Middle School Multisystemic Project and transfer the rescinded funds to the LEA's reserve account, and to amend the FY 2027 Capital Improvement Program Leonardtown High Chiller Replacement Project to award $1,295,689 from the LEA's reserve account to partially fund that project.
Thanks, Melissa. For purposes of discussion, do I hear a motion to that effect? Mr. Derenberg makes a motion and Ms. Everhart seconds. Any questions about the motion for Melissa? Mr. Derenberg.
Do they have a time frame for the new chiller?
Yeah, in terms of when they will order it and when it will put in service, yeah, they have to order it immediately. So as soon as they get funding, they will be able to order the chiller. I don't know if they know what the lead times are right now, but sometimes there are delays. So they're looking to expedite it as quickly as possible.
So they don't know if it'd be before the new school year or?
That would be the goal. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks.
You know, the key is to get it before as soon as possible before significant heat hits at the beginning of the next school year. So that
Sounds like they have two running right now. One's dead.
they have two. Yes. One's on its last legs. The other is dead.
So will this new one replace both of them?
It's both. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a replacement for both.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hands. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4, FY 2027 Capital Improvement Program Amendment and Maximum State Award Increase Request, St. Mary's County Public Schools, Chopticon High School, Systemic Project. Melissa?
Okay, this is following on the last motion. St. Mary's is really doing all they can to spread the money to where it's needed most. In May 14th, 2026, St. Mary's informed IAC staff that bids received for Chopticon High Multi-Systemic Project came in higher than anticipated. The project was originally estimated in 2024, and since that time, the market has seen increased costs for equipment and labor, which has led to the project coming in over budget. St. Mary's has requested an increase to the maximum state award to support the higher project cost. An additional $4,772,004 is needed. Per Comar 14390208B, the IAC may increase the maximum state award for a systemic project when the LEA submits a bid tabulation for the project and provides documentation of the justifications that are required by Comar. The IAC determines the request of scope is eligible for state funding and that the scope of the work and associated costs are reasonable. Staff of the IAC have reviewed the bid tab and find the request to be compliant with the requirements, and as such, we are recommending approval of the LEA's request. In addition, St. Mary's is requesting to use a portion of the rescinded fundings from the previous motion, along with some also recently rescinded funding currently in their reserve, to apply $2,736,916 in funding to the Chopticon project. The balance of funding needed for that project, totaling $2,035,088, will be requested in the FY 28 CIP. St. Mary's believes this is the best way to move forward to complete the much needed multi-systemic at Chopticon within the state and local funding constraints. I would note that the cost per square foot for that project came in around $250, which is reasonable for the scope and significantly less than the IAC's current cost per square foot for building only of $431. I will now read the motion. To increase the maximum state award for Chopticon High Multi-Systemic Project from $33,056,182 to $37,828,186 in accordance with Comar 14390208B, and to award $2,736,916 from the LEA's reserve account to the FY 2027 Capital Improvement Program for Chopticon High School Multi-Systemic Project.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank
For
you.
purposes of discussion, I'll hear a motion to that effect. Mr. Derenberg makes the motion. Mr. Boyd seconds. Alex, you want to make any comments about this situation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, just a brief comment. This is an example of a school district doing everything they can to meet the urgent needs. And the only way they are able to do that is to defer the slightly less urgent needs, to postpone other projects. We see, the middle school project being pushed back a bit. We see them ending up getting to those other needs later, which means at a higher cost, which means that there may be more work that needs to be done in the end. And this is not unique to St. Mary's County by any means. This is really what we're seeing across the state. And it just highlights again that the state and local funding combined is not sufficient to meet the needs now. And here we need to do what we can to support the school district in bridging the gap temporarily with effectively, moving money from one needed project to another. So again, our focus this coming fall is going to be to really quantify the need in a way that can hopefully communicate to the state leadership what the needs are in a way that will have a better chance at getting more of those needs met in the coming fiscal years. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on this motion? Mr. Derenberg?
Hey, Melissa, could you do me a favor? Can you walk me through this because I was thinking about this morning. So they want to do this project on this high school. They kind of like how do they come up with the price initially? Do they get bids or do they just from history? Like how does, because this happens every meeting almost, that we go back and find out there's this more.
Yeah, they have been working on this project for a really long time because the scope of the project exceeded what they could fund locally, even with combination of state funding and at the speed at which they needed to fund it. So they have been estimating and reducing scope all along in the design process. They also had included a not aggressive cost estimate for this project. They had included some expectation that they would see escalation in the project costs. So they were aware of what was happening in the market, and we were certainly aware as we worked with them for this project. The challenge is what you can't see on bid day is how many bidders want the project in a specific location at a specific time. And I think a lot of those kind of factors added to the impact of escalation. And there's a significant amount of HVAC work in this scope. So we know that that's incredibly unpredictable. So I think the escalation of that, the HVAC along with the other unpredictable things when you're bidding in a place like St. Mary's County, which isn't really highly accessible and doesn't have a lot of contractors locally. I think all of those factors sort of combined, but they weren't going into it without already anticipating escalation in their estimate. It just exceeded what they had anticipated.
I mean, it's really not just St. Mary's. I mean, it's pretty much state happened.
Yeah.
I mean, and I get that. So I guess they have their vision of what they want to build. They have their estimates what things should cost, and then when they send it out to bid, it's like so much higher. Pretty much, is that the process that happens?
Well, they had a lot of alternates too. So they were allowing themselves an opportunity to adjust when the bid prices came in over. Some of those alternates, the county decided to go forward with anyway because they were much needed improvements to the educational spaces. So if they would have eliminated more of the alternates, they would have gotten closer to their total project estimate. I think it's a lot about the type of project right now because we're still seeing full replacement projects or new building projects coming in under estimate. So it's been really inconsistent, and it has a lot to do with what type of project, how complicated it is. Is it an attractive project for a contractor to take a risk on and put in a low bid, or do they have something else they're bidding next that's a much more attractive project, so they don't want to take a risk, so their bid's a little bit higher? Those factors that we can't really put our arms around.
So, and ACs and roofs are going to be the death of us.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So,
Mr. Chair and Mr. Darenberg, if I could add just a couple of other things. One is that a lot of the time LEAs know much earlier than we bring to you that the project cost is going to exceed their budget. And we encourage them to wait to request an increase until they have bids so that we are approving exactly the right amount. So it may seem like they were really behind the curve, but the truth is they have known and we have known for a while that this was probably going to be the outcome. And the other thing is that I would think that anyone watching or participating in these meetings might think that this is a very common problem because when we get the estimate right, you all don't ever see these projects again. You approve them as part of the CIP and they never come back. So at these meetings, you are only talking about the ones that came in over, which is a significant problem, but not as significant as it might seem because the other ones we just never talk about again.
that makes sense. And
Good point.
it's not really just about St. Mary's County. Like you find out, we only see the ones that are coming back, which seems like a regular situation almost. But there's 27. There's how many hundreds of schools or thousands, whatever schools. So thank you, Cassandra. Thank you, Melissa.
Good point. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Any other questions about this project? All in favor of the motion, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Item number 5, State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund Project Funding Resource Revisions. Cassandra.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And really quickly, before I go to item 5, I do want to note that Mr. Katari has joined us actually several items ago. And so has Deputy Secretary Setatal, who is designee for Secretary Chaudhry today.
How you doing, Joe? Good to see you.
With that, Mr. Chair, I'll go into item 5, which is about federal funding. You all know that is my favorite thing to talk about. In fiscal years 22 and 23, the IAC received $40 million per year in what's called federal state and local fiscal recovery funds, SLFRF funds, that were specifically to be awarded for HVAC projects through the IAC's Healthy School Facility Fund program. The reimbursement request deadline in order for the IAC to request a reimbursement from the federal government for those funds is September 1st. As the program proceeded, it became clear that a number of projects that initially received these funds would not be able to make that expenditure deadline. So, in order to make sure that we do meet the deadline and get all of those funds back from the federal government, we worked with DBM to include language in this year's Budget and Finance Reconciliation Act to allow the IAC to reassign the SLFRF funds to other projects that would meet the deadlines, just swapping them out for state funds. As you can see in your agenda, this item proposes funding swaps to move SLFRF funds from 7 projects in Baltimore City to a number of projects in other LEAs that do all meet the SLFRF requirements and timelines, and which have already been reimbursed by the IAC. The motion is to approve the rescission of $39,801,100 of federal, state, and local fiscal recovery funds from the presented FY 2022 and FY 2023 Healthy School Facility Fund projects in Table 1 and transfer the funds to the statewide reserve, then to award the same amount of state funds to the presented projects in Table 1, and to revise the presented projects in Table 2 to apply SLFRF funds and revert the same amount of funds to the applicable LEA's reserve account.
Good job, Cassandra. Do I hear a motion to support?
Yes.
Mr. Katari makes a motion and Ms. Everhart seconds. Any discussion, any questions about this issue? Krishna.
Cassandra, my apologies. Had a little bit of internet issue on my side. So the funding from SLFRF is you said it is reverted to general funds, and the reimbursements will be made through the general funds. Is that what you mentioned?
So we are putting the SLFRF funds on projects that we've already paid out so that they meet the reimbursement deadline. And we're going to execute that through journal entries that revise the source of funds. Then we will take the funds that we are replacing with SLFRF funds and put them on the other projects that won't meet the deadline.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. And completely makes sense. Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, please say aye or raise your hands. Any opposed? Thank you. Item 6, proposed COMAR amendments to 14-39 and 14-3904 departmental bill. Victoria.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and members of the Commission.
Morning.
On May 26, 2026, Governor Moore signed into law the IAC's departmental bill, Senate Bill 48. The bill made alterations to several existing IAC processes and synchronized terms that were already in use by the IAC in the APG and other guiding documents. We've gone over the departmental bill in more detail previously, so I won't discuss every aspect of it, but the largest changes to COMAR as a result of the bill passage include changing the term maximum state construction allocation to maximum state award throughout, amending the requirement for the 75% capital improvement program to be replaced with notification letters to the LEAs and local government entities indicating anticipated funding levels, and clarification that certain facility status change requirements apply when schools are no longer used for purposes eligible for school construction funding. There are also a few other small procedural or definition changes. If approved, these changes will be submitted for review and will be published in the Maryland Register for public comment for 30 days. Subsequently, we anticipate these changes will be brought for final action at the September IAC meeting. And with that, I'm happy to read the motion and stand for any questions you may have.
Okay, go ahead.
The motion is to approve amendments to COMAR 143902 and 143904 that incorporate revisions to regulations that were approved during the 2026 legislative session as a result of the passage of the IAC's departmental bill, Senate Bill 48.
Thank you, Victoria. Do I hear a motion to that effect? Mr. Trelor makes a motion and Mr. Derenberg seconds. I want to congratulate the staff, Alex, and everybody for all the work that went into this. Took a long while. Alex, you want to make any comments before we have any questions? Mr. Trelor.
I would like to echo your sentiments, Chair, and want to thank Alex, Cassandra, and team for the work that they did in this process. MSDE wanted to execute a few changes at the same time, and we worked very collaboratively to include those changes as part of the IAC departmental bill that was approved. So this process is bringing efficiencies to some of the work that MSD's Office of School Facilities executes in the process, and I want to take a minute to appreciate the work and the collaboration that was extended during this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna. We appreciate all of your cooperation and advice, and we really value your input. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions on this motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hands. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Item 7, Administrative Procedure Guide Amendments, Departmental Bill. Cassandra.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, we're always working to identify clarifications and process improvements that are reflected in the Administrative Procedures Guide. This is so that it's always getting better and becoming more useful for our stakeholders. There is a summary of changes available in your agenda, but just a couple of key highlights. In sections 1 and 2, there were some changes to definitions, and we did make the submission elements for facility status changes very explicit. Before this, the LEAs could only see those once they went into our business management system. Now they know ahead of time exactly what they're going to need to provide. In section 3, there were revisions to require notification of planned redistricting that will impact eligible enrollment. And we adjusted the section on ed specs to provide better instruction to the LEAs. This was, again, in consultation with MSDE and their Office of School Facilities. So thank you, Krishna and team, for your help on that. We also have clarifications to specify the timeframes that we use for data when determining the eligibility of state cost share add-ons. So in general, these are mostly non-substantive, technical, clarifying changes. There are not any big policy changes or anything in here that I think anyone would be concerned about. The motion is to approve amendments to the IAC's Administrative Procedures Guide as presented and to authorize IAC staff to make non-substantive changes as needed.
Thank you, Cassandra. Do I hear a motion to that effect? Ms. Everhart makes a motion. Mr. Derenberg seconds. Any questions? Ms. Everhart.
Yes, just one. There are a lot of changes or reflections in here. Have you received any comments from the facility people throughout the state of questions or changes, or have there been any comments at all? Have they had enough time to really review all of this?
So these changes, as I mentioned, are mostly non-substantive. They've had a week to review them and we haven't heard any concerns. At your last meeting in May, we did approve some more significant changes as a result of the departmental bill. And we did go through those with the LEAs at the facility planner meeting, particularly the ones around design review. And we haven't heard any concerns about any of those.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Announcements. Anybody want to tell us about something new? Don't forget the July meeting, we've moved back a week. Is that correct, Alex? July 16th.
Yes, 16th, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Any comments anyone would like to make? Alex, anything you want to say?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I want to thank all of you for your cooperation. Good to see you all. Do I hear a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Dory makes that motion. Ms. Everhart seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.